All right, in this explainer, we're going to dive into a modern way to restore that sense of balance with food and our daily lives. It's really about moving past all that struggle and restriction to find a way of living that actually feels good and, more importantly, lasts. Just take a second and think about that question. We're all trying to build healthy habits, right? But have you ever hit that point where the routine that's supposed to help you, well, it starts to feel more like a cage? Super restrictive, totally overwhelming. Yeah, that's exactly where the trouble begins. And that's really the heart of the problem for so many people. When your relationship with food and your own daily habits turns into this constant battle, it's just exhausting. Mentally, physically, all of it. You get stuck in this vicious cycle of super strict rules, then feeling guilty, and believe me, it is way more common than you'd imagine. Okay, so what does that struggle actually look like day to day? Let's really break down some of the common challenges that are a huge red flag that your routine is becoming more of a prison. And here's the thing about these challenges, they're almost never just one thing. They're all connected, right? You might feel super anxious about what you're eating, and that leads to skipping a meal, which then makes you feel tired and you can't focus. Or maybe those really strict exercise habits seem great until you realize it's impossible to keep up with work and life. It's like this massive domino effect that just creeps in and can take over everything.
So, who are we talking about here? It's really important to get this. This is not a niche problem. The struggle with food and daily routines it's huge. It's way more widespread and affects a lot more people than you might initially think. I mean, look at how diverse this is. You've got adults who are in recovery from a formal eating disorder. You have people who just have these disordered patterns, tons of food rules, lots of guilt. Then there are professionals in high-stress jobs, or even expats trying to figure out a whole new food culture. It's not just one type of person, it's so many different stories, but they all point back to the same need for real, sustainable balance.
So, since the problem is so complex, it makes sense that the solution can't just be one single thing, right? We have to look at the whole picture. So let's talk about what a more holistic, or whole person, path to recovery actually looks like. And that brings us to this really key idea, the integrated approach. This whole concept is built on understanding that this is not just a food problem, and it's not just an emotional problem. It's about combining psychological care with nutrition and lifestyle support to treat the mind, the body, and your daily habits all together as one big system. Okay, now look at this number, 80%. That is a huge number. Just let that sink in for a second. What do you think that 80% represents? Get this. A staggering 80% of people in recovery from eating disorders still struggle with the day-to-day stuff, nutrition, their routines, even after they've started therapy. And that is such a critical piece of the puzzle. It tells us that therapy is absolutely essential, but it's often not enough by itself to help someone rebuild their entire life. And the research totally backs this up. It shows that when you pair that psychological pair with real practical support from a dietitian, the chances of a successful recovery go way, way up. It's like you're finally tackling the problem from all sides. Okay, so what does this combined support actually look like? How does it work in the real world? Let's get into the how and break down the main pillars that hold this whole method up. Think of it like a team with 4 key players or pillars. First, you've got nutritional counseling to help restore balanced eating, without all the guilt. Second, therapeutic support to work on the emotional side of things. Third, lifestyle coaching to build better routines around sleep and stress. And fourth, medical oversight if physical health has been affected. It's all of these pieces working together that create a truly solid support system.
Okay, so we've talked about the problem and the method, but what's the payoff? What's the goal? What does it actually feel like to have that balance back? Let's look at some of the real-world results.
I mean, this is what it's all about, right? It's not just about stopping the bad stuff. It's about starting to feel genuinely good. Think about it. Less anxiety and guilt when you eat, having more energy, better focus, building healthier habits that stick, and maybe most importantly, feeling like you have freedom and flexibility again. This is about building a strong foundation for the long haul. So, I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. Instead of that routine that feels like a cage, what if you could build one that feels like a solid foundation? Something that genuinely supports your mind and your body. Just ask yourself, what could a supportive routine like that really do for you? What could it unlock?